Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome to one more Vacuumlabs webinar. Today we are going to talk about happy customers and unhappy pets. It's a pleasure to be here sharing this knowledge with you. So welcome everybody. Well, first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Carolina. I'm a service designer, and this means that I design better user experiences for financial services. Vacuumlabs is focused on financial services. We are going to talk a bit about it. But one interesting fact about me that I want to share is I'm also a pessimist. And you are going to understand why, but later on. But up to you, Martin. Your turn.
Yeah, so hello everyone. Let me also introduce myself. I have the same structure as Carolina did, so my name is Martin.
He copied me.
I'm a product manager. Yeah, you can skip to another one. Yeah, I build fintech products with the best possible user experience. And the last one, I'm not a pessimist. We have other people in the team for that. But instead of the problems, I see opportunities how to get better. And in terms of applications or products, how to build better user experience based on the knowledge from the pessimists. And let's say a few words about who we are representing here. So both of us, me and Carolina, are working for the company called Vacuumlabs. We are heavily focusing on building fintech products, mostly digital banks, buy now, pay later solutions, credit cards, and then things like that. A lot of cryptocurrency projects lately. So that's us. You can see the coverage. We are not local to Europe, but expanding a lot into the other corners of the world. One of the biggest projects that we were just finishing a few months ago was in the Philippines. And you can see that we are trying to cover most of the countries on the map. So yeah. And the last slide about the company, so we can go to the content really. The differentiator of us is probably that we are not providing only the engineering power, which is huge, but we are combining this knowledge also with the product and service design and the strategy and management. So what we are really doing is building end-to-end products, including discovery phase, including product management of the whole process and so on. And both, as I said, in the fintech industry. So all the knowledge we gathered in the last few years will be in that place. So yeah, that's us. And Carolina, back to you. Oh, I have one more. Why webinar? Why are we doing this webinar? Yeah, it's a nice thing to say at the beginning, right? So because we realized that we are all focusing, and it is kind of a market standard that what we are meeting in all of the client projects we are working on, and I've seen it in multiple companies before. We are all trying to focus on the bright side, on the easy solution, on the like fast goals, quick builds, and it's not always the best approach, right? It's sometimes a real struggle, especially while building fintech products. So the message is we are quite often overlooking the pessimistic, the not positive side of the things while designing, and we want to talk about it, and we are sorry. Yeah.
Sorry to bring this pessimism, but yeah, it's time to talk about it, right? So up to me. Let's first of all understand what's behind the design of product and services nowadays. So here I'm showing the basic, let's say, the normal process when we craft a user-centric product or service. As we know, this user-centricity, the design thinking tools are really in a hype right now. And if we take this framework, we see that we start from discovery, which is a very good thing because we try to empathize with the user, to understand the needs, to look to the market as well, to check the opportunities. And based on this analysis, we create this user persona, we think about our target, we ideate those solutions that can fit for those needs, we prioritize the solution, and then, okay, when we have this prioritization, we go to the define phase, when we shape this product strategy. So we start to put some details. We design the journey, the user journey. We design the experience. So I'm going to think, okay, the first stage for this user is going to be download the app, but then he's going to download what he's going to see. So I think about those stages. And finally, I started to make this tangible through the design, right? So I do the wireframes, I do the prototype. Of course, this is iterative process. I'm not doing this one shot, but for certain flows, I need to do this certain times. And I think it's a good thing. Like when I explain this process, it looks very good, right? Well, this is the result many times. This is smoothly user experience. Everything is working because I thought about this user experience in terms of the perfect stages I want the user to take. So everything is pretty fine, let's say, in this current setup that we have nowadays. Good, right? Everybody happy. The user is happy with this amazing experience. We are happy because we provided to the user this amazing solution. But no, as Martin was saying in the beginning, it's not that good, and we are going to understand why. We design the journeys in this very predictable way. When we think about those user steps, we kind of assume that the user is going to take the step we want him to take. But the reality is not like this, right? Actually, this reality is more like this. So the user, he'll download the app. So I have here an example. He's going to download something, but probably or maybe this app is not going to be available in the country, or he's going to download a similar one, but it's a very similar name. It's not the one that we want him to download. Or during the registration, he's asked to enter the personal information to create the passcode, and he's about to receive the SMS. And guess what? He doesn't receive the SMS, or he put some incorrect information with some typo in the form, and he can't really solve this alone. So he's going to upload the document, and he takes the photos of the documents, but the camera is not working. So how he can proceed? Or during the user verification that we put some cool biometrics, well, guess what? He wears glasses and he can't see properly the frame with the glasses. But with the glasses, the system can't recognize his face. So as you can see, everything can happen in each stage, right? And the problem is, if one stage collapses, it impacts the whole experience, because we often think, okay, we have many steps. It doesn't matter that much if you have a problem in one step. Well, more or less, depends on the step, right? Because sometimes the user will give up to use it, to interact with the product because of this specific problem that we had. So yeah, it is a huge, huge problem. But Martin, up to you. Explain a bit. So what is happy and unhappy pets in this context?
So just to have our definitions done, what we mean by the happy path and unhappy path, I think these are pretty common definitions, but let's have a look at it. So the happy path is a series of ideal steps that the user is expected to take in order to achieve a desired result. And the unhappy path will be ended abruptly without the user achieving the goal. A simple way how to remember this is the happy path is when you are designing from left to right, just the nice screens, right? You click here and you go right to the next one. And there are no like going down, left, right, single options, some decision points and so on. So this will take us into the unhappy paths. So basically like that. And let's have a look at the example, which will be even more explanatory. So every single one of you probably have had an experience with purchasing something online. And this is the most happy path how this can go, right? So you select the product, click the checkout, and in one step you are done. So paying with the connected Apple Pay functionality, everything goes smoothly. You have enough funds in the pocket, and you go. Order is processed, displayed in the account overview, and you are just waiting for your product to arrive. So this is the happy path, the standard example of it. And it looks like, yeah, it's pretty simple to create a checkout in the eShop, right? Just the 5 screens. And if we have a look at the unhappy path, just connected to this single flow. And by the way, we are just looking at one example of what could go wrong, right? So not sure if it's really visible, but I will describe it. So on the payment, we can definitely have a situation when the account is not filled with enough resources, right? And the payment is not going through. And it's getting us into the weird situation of how to handle this. So we need some warning screens that the order didn't go well. We need to also take care of the user staying on the site and fixing the issue, because otherwise, like, he's going to be leaving and purchase somewhere else, right? And a lot of other things can go wrong. We need to send a notice. Where are we sending it? Do we have the email at that moment? And so on. So now it becomes really complicated. And as I said, this is just one example of a single checkout flow with one issue that can occur. There could be a dozen of them. So yeah, just to define unhappy versus happy, and let's go forward. So I have like 3 definitions here. You can read them out. I will try to do it for you as well. So the important thing in the first sentence, to avoid unhappy experience, we need to design for unhappy paths. The important thing here is, by designing for the unhappy paths, we are taking care of the good experience, right? So the assumption here is the things will happen. There will be issues, could be technical, could be others. Carolina will be talking into details of what could be the causes of the unhappy paths, but they will be there. And since we design for them, if we do it correctly, if we do it right, the experience will be good, even though we have some issues in the flow. The users will feel taken care of if they always have a possibility to do some action to figure out what to do next. So that's the first one. The second one, the important part, okay, considering the worst possible scenario, as Carolina said, she's pessimistic. This is like her nature, right? You always need to have someone like that to work with. I'm not that kind of person, but I like these inputs, so yeah. But again, like, the important part is at the end, the most worst possible scenarios are not coming like out of the blue. Carolina can think of a lot of them, but we also need to have an interaction with user and some other parties which are involved in the process, right? So we need to collect all our inputs and design in the worst possible scenario in minds of all of these people, all of these counterparts. And the last point, we need to optimize. So yeah, once we find out all the worst possible scenarios, all the unhappy paths, we need to find a way how to build the product, right? We cannot fix all of them. We need to find a way how to optimize for the resources, but also for the user experience. And to that, I will get back probably at the end of the presentation with an example. So yeah, that's it. And yeah. So why are we only looking at the happy paths? And it happens a lot. And I can tell you, like, I've been requested multiple times on my projects to not take care of the unhappy ones for various reasons. So let's have a look at what it could be. What could be the drivers for looking only at the happy paths? A lot of them are driven by the communication. And as I mentioned before, we don't have a person in the team who is Carolina who will be looking at the things from not the bright side exactly. We don't have discussion. We don't have ties to people who will be the ones who will need to deal with the implications of the unhappy paths, right? Not often are we discussing with the customer support personnel when we are designing the onboarding approval flow, right? But they are the ones who will need to figure it out on the call with the client once something goes wrong. The obvious one is the second one. There is the usual time, scope, and cost pressure. I think we've all been there. So yeah, let's build it cheaper, let's build it faster, but we want it to work, and it looks nicer if it's just the happy path going from left to right, as I said at the beginning. And I think the last most important thing, which should be said twice at least, like, communicate with the users. So the users are the one who will tell you what they can do wrong, what they don't see as you see it, and where are the shortcuts, and so on. So yeah, so this is the context, but there are also other drivers. So let's have a look at them. So not to blame everyone else, but let's face it, let's look into the mirror. We are also often drivers for the missing designs for the unhappy paths. So most of us are biased towards positivity, optimism. That's my case, definitely. I look at the application, I see nice design, and I'm like, okay, wow, that's beautiful, and let's do it like this. There couldn't be any drawback, right? Everybody will see the same screen until they don't. For example, on small screens, and button can get hidden, and. So that's one thing. The second thing is we know how the users think and how they behave. And that's, as I said, we need to test with proper users. We need to write down the feedbacks. We need to let the users figure out the weak spots because we'll never figure them out ourselves. They are sometimes hard to solve, the unhappy paths. So we postpone them, put them out of the scope, and keep them in the backlog as something that we'll come back to later, which never happens, right? And my favorite one is the edge cases. And I guess you probably have heard this before. This is like a magic spell in the product development. So, right, it's an edge case. Don't bother with that. Nobody will ever do it this way and so on. So edge case or issues with edge cases. I mean, there are obviously edge cases in the applications. Totally agree with that. But not all the edge cases, which we call edge cases, are really something that we don't need to take care about. So first of all, the frequency of the event is not the only significant, like the only one single metrics which is important at this point. Frequency is nice, but the severity or the total impact of the edge case is the thing which is making it edge case. So if the frequency is low, it's a nice start, but it also needs to be something that even with low frequency cannot cause a big harm. So yeah, at least two ways to look at it. Every user was a new one to your service. This one is an obvious no-brainer. So yeah, we need the users to like the application from the very start. They are learners. They will see some things for the first time. It needs to be a nice experience for them. And yeah, most of the edge cases aren't really that uncommon, even with 1%. Occurrence, it could be too much, right? It depends on the number of your user base and whatever. But as you know, like the most loud reviews in the App Store will be the unhappy ones, not the happy ones. So yeah. And let's jump to an example from the real life. This one could be something that you probably heard of or lived through yourself. So our user lost his physical credit card. It happens, right? So what can we do about it? So Carolina, please skip to the next one and let's see what is the market standard approach. So you call your branch, your bank branch, and request a card block, which is cool. Everybody loves to call customer support in a bank. And you go through these questions like, what is your full name? What is your birth date? What is your current balance on your account? And so on. Other verifications that it's really your authorization. Okay, like we can block your card for you, but it will cost you not much. There will be some fee, and it will be issued to on your next balance sheet or statement, whatever. And by the way, just to let you know, this card block is permanent. So whatever happens next, this card is blocked forever. You cannot use it anymore. You need to wait for the new one. And if you just quickly click through Carolina, like all these things cost us money, cost us time, right? For the fee, it costs the bank the money, but like it's transferred to the user. But who cares really? It's an edge case, right? So why should we bother even? And if you jump to the next one, this is the most funny part of the story. So what if we find the credit card, which happens more often, I guess, than we thought. And like the thing is, with this story, when you click for the next one, it's not that difficult to fix this issue. It's pretty simple. This is something that we were doing for the application. We are just releasing into the app stores next month. And we just have a like this button freeze, unfreeze. You can see it, for example, in Revolut as well. And I think it's becoming a thing in the applications, definitely not adopted across the banking sector that much. And simply the user can unfreeze and freeze the card whenever he wants, whenever he feels like. There could be, like what we discovered by just putting this this button into the application is that like there are tons of other use cases where the users will be using it. So they're leaving home and leaving the credit card at home and want to be sure that nobody will misuse it when robbed or whatever. There can be use cases. So now we are fixing for this unhappy path, and now we found a new way how to interact with the users and gave them an option how to work with the credit card even more. So yeah, easy fix for this huge problem, and it's just by designing for the unhappy paths. And back to Carolina.
Okay, so the main conclusion, I think, from everything that Martin was explaining is unhappy is not bad. Like, let's agree on this. Unhappy is not bad, and we need to remind ourselves. So finally, some good news. All issues can be solved, prevented, as Martin was saying. We can shift our mindset and, okay, we can deal with it, right? And the good thing is the good and bad, because I bet you remember the last time you were pissed off with some digital product or service because of an unhappy pet. And this means that companies are not really paying attention to it, which is good because we, as professionals, we have the opportunity to do this different and differentiate ourselves, right? Differentiate our product and our service, which is pretty good. But the first step to design it, to do this work, okay, we are aware that it's possible to do, but we need to understand why those unhappy scenarios, they happen. If you want to design better, if you want to make things better, let's go to the root of the problem. Like, why is this happening? I like to divide this into two main streams. So in the left side, we have some user-related causes and error. Just to put some examples, well, the user, he has low digital literacy, for example, or he's unfamiliar with this product. It's the first time he's going to use a crypto app, so the terminology is pretty new for him even. Or in other case, maybe he doesn't have or he doesn't remember some information that he needs to input to keep using the application, or he has some kind of disability or accessibility challenge that is preventing him to use, or simply is not feeling safe enough to continue. It's very common in banking services, right? We are dealing with money. Those are the user-related causes, some examples. And then we have some external ones. So we have maybe some bad actor or an intent to misuse it in some way, some fraud, someone trying to rob or something, our passcode, or some infrastructure or technology breakdown or bandwidth limitations, or some problems within the back office. We are not aligned, the information flow is not the best, so the information maybe is not being provided in the right way. Lots of legacy systems as well in banking services. You know, this is a reality. And many times some constraints that we have the sensation that, oh, we can't control because we have this agreement with this provider, with this third party, that we hire them and guess what? They can't provide the solution that we want. So here we can clearly see that we have some user-related and external-related. And let's deep dive into each of them. So first, let's deep dive into some user-related causes, right? I love this sentence from Don Norman. He has an amazing book that I'm going to share with you in the end of the presentation. Yeah, I'm not going to talk right now because I want you until the end of the presentation. But he says, human error, no, bad design. He believes that all things that we consider, oh, I don't understand what users behave in this or that. Well, it's not really the user error. It's bad design. So let's see some examples to understand this statement, right? In my experience as service design, I've heard sometimes like, oh, I can't understand why users are so lost. Like, we have the FAQs and the FAQs are so complete. We put together all the information, right? Why we still have so many calls or so many mails asking for some specifics. Well, if you look to the screen, it's true, we have the FAQs, but we don't have a search tool. They are not organized into some alphabetical order or even some priority, like what is more the probability of the user that the user you will need, right? So we have no organization in terms of information. It's really not the user error that he can't find some information. It's some design decision made that is making very hard for him to find this information. And the same thing in this example on the right. I've been hearing, like, I don't get why users have trouble finding their bank. It's so easy. You have the list of banks, right? Okay, please select your bank to pay the water, blah, blah, blah. And then we have the list of banks. But if you pay attention, the icons are pretty much the same. The colors are the same. And even the name is, because I have Lloyd's Bank in one line, and many lines below I have Lloyd's Bank Business. So imagine, I'm in a hurry. I'm going to click in the first one. I see I'm not going to realize if it's business or not. And the same thing with other bank providers, as we can see here, Scotland Business. So it's those kind of decisions that, yeah, really is not human error. It's just a bad design. But let's understand, and it's still from Don Norman, understand these human errors. Of course, I don't want you to memorize the difference about sleep and mistake or those types of human errors, but I will explain you the theory, but because I think you are going to relate. And when we understand, I think it's better to design and to prevent, right? So we have two types of human errors. One is sleep. Sleep is a silly one. It's very unconscious. So it happens when we are in autopilot. So we reply to all or type something wrong, or we forget the attachment. This is pretty common, right? It's just unconscious. We know that it's not right, but we don't really realize that we are doing this. And we also have some mistakes. Well, mistakes are conscious. They are caused because I misunderstand the situation. And this is often caused because in the way we design this application is not to take into consideration the way that people think, is taking into consideration our mental models. And just to give one example of what could be this mistake, right? So in the end of a form, the user, he's not submitting the form because he sees the gray button, and the gray button for him, the meaning is disable, right? The gray button, it's disabled, so I shouldn't click. I'm missing some information here to go on. No, but he can click. So it was a very bad design decision about putting a gray button as this finish a task that is misleading the task for the user, right? Just for you to understand. We can solve both. Like, again, good news, we can solve both. So in terms of sleeps, we can guide the user on the information, help them to stay on the right path, choose good defaults, put some constraints. So if I know that in this form he needs to put a certain type of information, I'm putting some constraints, so I'm not allowing him to put other numbers than the others that are allowed, right? So I play with the design to keep them on track. Mistakes are a bit more complicated because I need to understand the mental model. So I need to empathize with the user. And how we do this? Well, user testing, user research. I talk with the user. I show the user the designs. So I try to find those spots where it's complicated for him to navigate, right? And we have some general error prevention. So I support and do. I warn the users before the forms are submitted. So are you sure? Do you confirm this information? Just to give you some examples. But let's see in real life. And I really like those two things I brought. They are not a digital world, but I think it's really interesting because even in our daily lives and in our physical environment, we have some designs, the design of the environment that we are, sometimes are made for us to prevent some mistakes. So just to give an example about this subway in Japan, they have different songs to differentiate the departure of the train when we are inside the train, the arrival and depart of the train. Why? Because when you departure, well, you feel relieved, we are relaxing, we are like happy because you found a place to sit. So the song they play, it's really calm, relaxing, relief vibes. If you are approaching a station, the song that they play is completely different. It's a kind of alarming vibes. It's waking up. So the sound was designed for us to not miss the train, because I need to, maybe I'm sleeping into this, when I'm arriving into some station, I need to wake up, right? So even the way they think about the sound, the volume of the sound, because they think, okay, but with the noise of the trains, maybe the song that you play is not in waking up. So everything is designed thinking about it. And also this other example in the right is more visual, is the Terminal 4 in Madrid, the airport in Madrid, and they help people to find where they are through the color. So if I see the yellow color, I see that my gate is J. If I need to go to gate H, I find the blue color and I go there. So it's really cool how we can play with those objects with the environment to help users. And it's the same thing in our application, right? It's even easier. We have more possibilities within a digital application. So some examples here. We have this is a project that we designed for a client, and the case here is a one-off credit card payment. I wanted the user to put a value, but he can't put a different value from 50 to 500. So I'm putting some constraint. If he uses a different value, I warn him, no, the minimum possible amount is 50, it's not 2. So please redo, right? I don't allow him to proceed. Or the Revolut. I like the way they allow people to choose a tag. So I prevent the user to make maybe a wrong transfer, because it's easier if I know the name of the person. If you know the nickname, I just type, and it's really easy to find. So another great feature. But let's suppose that, unfortunately, this user, he made the wrong transfer. Okay, I can add a feature where I can cancel what I make, right? I can cancel this transfer. Of course, this is more complex because we are going to talk about back office, what we need to put in place in terms of services to allow this feature, but we are going to talk about it right now. So we understood the user-related causes and how to put some constraints to the user, how to guide the user, how to use everything. Let's understand the external related causes. As I was saying, the bad actor, the fraud, the infrastructure. Well, there is no way to solve this in the usability visual guidance level many times. It's not as easy as the errors, mistakes, slips from user. Because in this case, I really need to check how is the backstage, how is this backstage working? Because depending on how is this backstage working, what I can do in backstage, this is going to dictate the experience, right? Maybe I'm going to put something in the screen to create a good experience to the user. For example, this feature about undo the transfer. Well, I need to make sure that the backstage is working to provide this. So otherwise it's UX washing. It's like greenwashing, UX watching. It's like fake news. So I need to align the backstage. And I think it's here where the service design comes in. So what is service design? Well, I know that it's a bit redundant to say that service design is the art of designing services. In the same way we design those amazing screens, the product, or even a bottle, I need to design the service. And when I say design the service, is really end-to-end experience, where the experience is beginning in the awareness, in the first contact that this user has with the product, with the digital product, that in the end is a service, right? Until the very end, the offboarding. So differently from a designer, a UX. I'm thinking about all touch points from the beginning to the end. Like if I have even before the app, I have a aggregator website where my user is going to see my offer. I need to think how I'm going to communicate this offer, right? So I really think end to end. Besides this, think in the application, think all the touch points that we have, the customer service, the customer support, and yes, the backstage. I design this end-to-end experience, and I make sure that in the backstage I have all pieces I need to provide this. For example, okay, what do you see the screens? Different stages of the experience. I map also the touch points of each experience, because my role as service design, I try to improve the experience, to give more touch points if needed, to check how is the communication with the user. And in the backstage, I'm mapping. And according to the things I need, I put here in this backstage, this bluish greenish part. So maybe I want to improve the relation with customer support. I map here. I'm going to write how it's going to be, what I need to provide, what are the actions I need, what departments should be involved on it, what are the processes that I need to have in place, what are the systems. So with service design, I have the visualization about the whole environment, and I need this to solve unhappy pets, right? Solving unhappy pets is not something you do only on the screens, on the interface. We need to go deep many times to understand the dependencies, to understand the flows, to understand even the decisions. Many times I need to talk with Martin. Martin, I'm not sure if you can solve this in the way that we can provide the experience. What is happening on the backstage? Tell me, give me more information, right? So we agree in the best way to solve this, but I need to have this kind of visualization. For those who don't know, this is called service blueprint. And the example I bring here is just one example. Depending on the information, depending on the experience, you can design in a different way. So if your objective, if your unhappy path within your application, it's about security. Oh, we have a huge problem in security and fraud. You want to improve this. Okay, one line can be security. So let's analyze everything that is happening or not happening in terms of security within this journey that I can improve. And I map this and I define how it's going to be the process, right? So it's really flexible. It's a really flexible tool. Going forward, even use the best approaches or tools or understand, let's assume also that, okay, problems will happen, right? And we need to assist the user. Service design can help us to recover the service. It's not about identifying and improving, but also assuming many times we can't solve this in a proactive way. Many times we need to push the user for this unhappy pet for us to be able to talk with him and solve this for him, right? That's why I think service design can make this match with unhappy pets. Many times we don't see this the unhappy pets discussions under the scope of many service designs, but I think it's really useful to have this approach. I love this graph about service recovery because we have a paradox. Service recovery is, okay, I have a service failure, I had an unhappy pet, I had a problem, I lost my credit card, I need another one, I need to talk with someone, I need help, right? And we have this amazing research that is showing the relation between the customer loyalty and service recovery. So what it says, if I have a service failure and I'm recovering this really fast, so if the time is short, this loyalty, this customer loyalty, is even higher than a regular user that is not facing any problem, like average. Everything okay-ish, right? So when I have an issue and I feel that I was assisted in a very short time, I'm even more loyal to this brand or to this service, which I think is amazing. But please don't fake any problem just to recover and get more loyalty, right? And one thing to remember, new services and products are prone to break, right? That's why we need to put in place the service recovery, especially when we are launching a new service or product. For many times, it's the first time you are going to experience to see how this product works. So it's really important to put this in place. At the same time, when we talk about customer service recovery, we talk about customer service, right? We talk about putting in place some tools to assist this user. But please, let's help customer service to help the user, because, okay, if you decided that everything, let's put here a phone number, and then they talk with customer service, and then customer service, they will realize how to solve. If everything goes to this way, it's really bad. It's bad because overload of calls. It's bad because lots of resources, time to solve. It's really complicated for customer service to handle. So let's help customer services. Let's do some self-service features, or even when I open some problem or transaction or a dispute, let's put this visible to the user in the application. Okay, it's in progress. Let's provide the information here. So I don't need to call customer service. Hey, how is my complaint? How is it going? Am I going to have my money back? No, I see. I can check by myself, right? I also love this example from Lunar, because they proactively put if the systems are working or not. So if the systems are not working, if my application is down or if something it's happening, I can check. I open the application, I see that is not working. I don't need to call and don't need to send an email. I don't need to search at Google what is happening with my application. So it's a very proactive way to help customer service. In financial services, this discussion about unhappy pet, it's even more relevant. And why it's so relevant? And I had another webinar, I think some months ago, when I talked about it. Well, financial services, when we talk about financial services, we talk about numbers, we talk about math. And math is hard for people to understand. Many times they can't follow the information. It's a lot, it's overwhelming, right? Also, banking has a bad reputation. So there is an unconscious bias towards it. So when I think about bank, I'm going to think, oh, it's a bad thing. Oh, they're not doing good. Oh, they're not providing a good experience. So I'm biased in a negative way towards bank. A small mistake is a big mistake. Why? Because we are dealing with money. And maybe an unhappy pet is leading to a loss of money. And this is really important for the user, of course, who likes to lose money. No one, right? And because also users in general have many interactions with banking services, not like one shot, I use and goodbye. No, it's almost a daily usage depending on the service. That's why it's so important. That's why right now, working at Vacuumlabs, I'm really discussing unhappy pets on a daily basis. But let's practice a bit. This is a real example. It's my own application. It's Binance. And it's a bit tricky because when we start to understand this world of design and how we can improve unhappy pets, you started to recognize all problems and issues that apps could be doing better, right? And it's the case of Binance or Revolut or all applications that I have. I check my application, oh my God, they could do better. So it's my real life, and I'm sorry if now you are going to be the person. But let's do this together. Let's train our mindset. I'm going to explain you this flow, and I want you to spot with me all unhappy scenarios that can happen. And then I will show you the reality, what happened to me. So the case is the following, and this is, again, is my real life. The user opens the app after a long time because I'm not really checking Binance on a daily basis. So let's say once every 3 months. And he sees this banner, what's new? And a list of things, okay? Okay, he decides to press, okay, not now. I don't want to update now, not now. But he still wants to see the numbers of the application. So he needs to enter in the application. And he needs to jump in the verification, in the user verification. So he sees he has many options here. For example, First phrase is enter the 6-digit code sent to blah, blah, blah. And then option, send code, voice verification, and even here some solution for an unhappy pet, security verification available. Do something here. Okay, looks good. Then let's suppose that this user, me, want a voice verification. Okay, I click a voice verification. I send a voice verification. I send a voice verification to this number. Confirm. Good. Well, step number 4. He reads that the voice verification code was sent, successfully sent. Good, right? But he doesn't receive the code, even with this confirmation. So I'm going to open mic if someone, first thing, the number 1, let's start small. This banner with a lot of information. Do you think we could improve this somehow? Or how we could improve? We can type the answer in the chat. I'm curious to know. After a long time, I see what is new. I see the list of things. Do you see something in the chat, Martin? No? They are quiet. It's true that they are in the listening mode, right?
Yeah. I mean, probably I'm not sure if there will be something. Maybe let's continue.
Okay. So I'm going to review my journey. Okay. So first thing, I opened the app for a long time. I don't even understand what's new. Look at this list of information. The information is really messy. Like, am I able to use what I want or not? What really straightforward. I don't have time to read what is new. I need simple and straightforward information, right? But okay, let's suppose I want to update a possible unhappy pet. My mobile is not compatible with this version, right? Besides not understanding what is going to be updated. So it's just one pessimist scenario. As Martin was sharing, I'm the pessimist one. So those kind of things are really, really easy. Comes really easy to my mind. My mind is trained to find those spots, right? Other thing that annoys me, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just my mental model. But when I see first line and verification, first line, enter the 6-digit code sent to blah, blah, blah. You know what I do? I just check my mobile because in my mind, when I read this first phrase, I think the code was already sent. I think that I don't need to click. But okay, it's automatic. Enter the, of course, Cecilia, of course I needed to click, to take the action. But I'm misled by this phrase. So I'm just wait. And then I'm not, okay. I need to click on send code. Okay, but this time I decided to try the voice verification. So I clicked here, voice verification. Voice verification sent. Other time I was misled. Why? Because they put send voice verification, confirm, and then voice verification sent. Please keep your phone nearby as the verification code will be sent to you shortly. When I read sent, I associate with message. I don't associate with call. But this voice verification, it's a call, it's not a message. And this is a real story. My mobile, it's always on do not disturb mode. Always. Guess what? I don't receive the code because it's do not disturb. I don't receive the call. And I don't realize when I find some solution, the last screen that we have, I can't find a way to solve this because then I have again send code, but not voice verification. They say didn't receive a phone call the number. It's not really this because it was a call, so I'm lost. Imagine, this is a very, very small flow. It's just five steps. If in such a small flow we can find many opportunities to improve, imagine if we analyze the whole app and service end-to-end. Imagine. And imagine that we need to give solutions for everything. So it's really, really, really important, right? Let's jump for some practice, hands-on in terms of how we work. I know that it was a lot of lots of information. Maybe you are overwhelmed right now. I talk a lot, but the way I organize this information inside my mind is designing for a happy pet has mainly three perspectives. One is the prevention level. So I need to do everything I can to prevent an error to happen, to prevent this unhappy pet, right? How I do this? Empathizing with the user. So it's everything that we talked about, human errors, the slips, the mistakes. I do my user research, the user testing, I improve the UX, the usability. This is one thing. Other level, the recovery level. I assume that sometimes mistakes are going to happen, even if I prevent them, of course. What I do here? Well, customer service, operations, I try to recover the service. I do my blueprint. I check how is the information flow, what I can do. I negotiate with marketing, product people, tech guys on how to solve this, how to recover from a service failure, right? And another level that I like is the information level. Why? And why it's under some dots? Because you can use information in any scenario. Information is key. The way you organize information, the way you explain the information, you give the information. Even when I can't provide the best solution, still I can give information. Do you remember the example of all systems working, of that application that they show if systems are working or not? It's about it. Sometimes we can't do nothing. My application is not working and I can't solve. It's a huge problem. Okay, but inform the user in a transparent way. Or for example, when you go to airport and it's a long queue and then I'm not sure if in this airport I need to take out my computer or if I need to take out my belt or not. It's a mess, or take out my boots or not. What if we send the user a message? Remember, in this airport, we need to do this and this and this. And please remember this, otherwise you're going to be late. So even if I can't control, because I'm the airline, I have nothing to see with this, even I can't control, I can inform the user. So don't forget, information level is key when we talk about unhappy pets, right? Talking about the process that we do at Vacuumlabs, and again, this is not the only way to do this, but it's the way it's working with us, so I want to share with you. First, we do some user research, the discovery phase, where you empathize, we discover how is the behavior, the mental models, fine. We jump to the phase of designing this app and this experience. We need to make this tangible. As I said, the first thing I do is the user journey. Very high level. How is going to be this experience? I'm not that worried to put all unhappy scenarios. No, it's a high level journey. I jump to a workshop with the team. Team, here's the journey. Help me to find possible unhappy scenarios. What can happen here that can be bad? What are the alternative paths that maybe the users are going to take that we need to make sure that they go back to where they were? Okay, together we talk about those possible alternative paths. What I do with this, when I find some opportunity or another possible step, unhappy one he's going to take, I capture this as a new step in my journey. So if I identify here in the example, okay, this step probably the user needs some information to talk with someone to proceed. Okay, let's put as a step user assistance. Here, the user is going to call someone, is going to talk, is going to receive some information to proceed. Why I do this? Because I make sure that people are going to pay attention to the step, that we need to discuss this step. Now this unhappy flow is a reality, right? Then together with designers, service designers, product and tech teams, we analyze how we're going to solve. So if I say user needs assistance, it can be in many, many different ways. Okay, let's put a chatbot. Oh no, maybe we can put a calculator so he has the information with the calculator. He can find the information that he needs. Oh no, maybe it's just a number with customer service. I don't know, it depends. It depends on the things that we have, the resources and the time. And after selecting this solution, I need to work both in this visual usability level to design what I'm thinking, and of course, in the backstage with service design. So the result is more or less this. This is real blueprint that we made for a project. The yellow mark on the right, it's one unhappy flow that we found, that we spot. And here is how we try to organize the teams to deal with this unhappy scenario, right? Just for you to show some of our reality. But Martin, up to you to share a bit more.
Yeah, so Carolina walked you through how to collect the feedback, how to design for the unhappy paths, how to learn that we need to design for it in the first place. And I will show you in a very simple example, like what it really means in terms of developing the solution, including the unhappy paths, right? Because it takes a journey to get the product to the development stage. And let's use the story maps to have a look at it. And what I'm showing here is basically overview of very simple, the most simple one you can imagine, registration flow. So starting in the aggregator, this could be for any kind of application you can think of, which is working with some rates for the users, which they can compete in. So let's say we have an aggregator at the beginning where the user starts with some kind of redirect link, which will take him to our registration flow. Using initial form to fill in some information, creating password to be able to log in, downloading the mobile app, and then proceeding in the mobile app with first login using the password generated before, OTP verification using SMS, allowing for biometrics, creating PIN for the further login, and so on. Then identity verification and the validation of address. So this is very basic happy flow. As we see it, it's not that much of a work. We can see, I don't know, maybe a couple, let's call it 20 stories in the picture. But then the observations come from the service design, from the discussions with the users, and from the discovery phase. So Carolina, if you can click slowly through the next slide. So yeah, I'll just give a couple of examples at the beginning to be specific. So let's say the aggregator is, the redirect from the aggregator is not working as it's supposed to. For some reason, we are not receiving the information we should be receiving. The input form is not populated and so on. So we need to somehow store the details for later, show the user holding screen if in case we don't have the service accessible on our side, and contact him later, get him served, for example, with a URL where he will be able to continue in the process. And if you can go for another one, yeah, there is a couple other things that we can do on the registration screen, which will help us. For example, the user is not able to fill in all the data, but we are able to pre-fill them with the aggregator data. We are able to highlight his changes. There is a nice feature of having a summary screen of whatever he changed. And if you click it until the end, probably, 1, 2, 3, one more, yeah. So this is, yeah, and if you, yeah. So this is how it could look like, this very simple flow. If you also have like use the inputs from the service designer and from the discovery phase. So let's call it, we have twice as much stories here to develop, and it looks like there is quite a lot of work to do, right? And the obvious question is the next one. So who's gonna pay for it, right? Because it looks like we are now building twice the size of the original happy path, and like, does it even make sense to build it that complex? And yeah, if we jump to another one, and this is going back to the very beginning of the presentation, so we should be optimizing with the unhappy paths in the mind. And what we can have a look at is some of the new ones, some of the unhappy paths made it to the MVP, and even like some of the original ones which we were planning to build are not needed anymore. So for example, let's take the example of the login to the downloaded mobile application. We can get rid of the issues of user being in the different device, not being able to download, using redirect and so on, just simply by sending him SMS with the link, because we are quite sure that he will be on the mobile phone, he will be using for the application installation. And we can skip all the other methods, keep them for the other releases of or other versions of the application, and just simply develop this one. So this is the way how we are optimizing afterwards. There are multiple examples here, and I'm not going to go into that much details probably because we are running out of time, but just wanted to show you that we need to keep the unhappy paths in mind before defining what will be the scope of the application, not afterwards, because sometimes, and it quite often happens, some of the unhappy paths will solve the happy paths as well for us, and could work as a solution and postpone some work on the happy flows to later stages. So it doesn't have to be more costly to work with the unhappy paths in mind. So yeah, and Carolina, back to you.
I was mute. So finally, some final thoughts, okay? Okay. Thought number one, believe us, small details make a huge difference. I think we've seen a bunch of examples here that we prove that this is really a reality. Of course, I'm going to bring some more real examples. So just to think, I know that you don't want to talk, so I'm going to answer. I'm going to ask and I'm going to answer. How would you improve this? So first scenario, my real life. I open my application. I see the card. This is my credit card application. I see the card that was delivered in November to this address in Madrid. But guess what? I never received the car. I don't have here any button to didn't receive the car or the card or do you want to change address? I don't have nothing here that is helping me to ask for some help, right? They are just considering the happy path that I received. No, but I'm not. What I do now? The same thing with the second example, and this is really common. We need to verify the mail. So, okay, we send the verification email to blah, blah, blah. But okay, I haven't received the mail. It's really simple just to put here a button. Haven't received the mail. Okay, what do? We have the resend, but we can resend forever, right? Other example, my bank. I think it's really cool because they are alerting me about some fraud. So have you received any suspicious phone call? Yeah, I understand that they are alerting me. Okay, if you receive it, don't give them your password, blah, blah, blah. And I have got it. What if I already received the suspicious calls and I gave them my passcode? What I do, how can you help me? So instead of got it, it's like, yeah, I've experienced this, help me. What I do, some instructions on this level. And the last one, it's very simple thing that we can solve. Those kind of codes or errors, and we don't see any context or explanation, just the code of the error, like transfer.one touch login flow. Of course, I will not understand what is happening. What should I do, right? So very simple adjustments that we can do that can lead for happy pets. Here are the examples. You are going to receive a copy of the presentation so you can analyze this carefully. Thought number 2 is just food for thought. I'm not going to talk about it, but just remember, specific users may have specific unhappy pets. So if you have a product that is really diverse, you really need to test this application with this diverse target, because what is a happy pet for a target can be a really unhappy pet for other target. This is really common right now, banking services and elderly population with seniors. Many times they don't understand the things for that Gen Z, they understand pretty well. So yeah, even within the same product, with different targets, we need to design for unhappy pets considering this context, right? Thought number 3, I love this one. Offboarding matters. Me as a service designer, when I share with you, okay, I think about the experience end to end, I've realized within my clients that they want to design it the best possible onboarding. Onboarding, oh, very fast, just 10 screens, it's just 5 minutes and the user is onboarded, and no one is talking about offboarding, which is a bit unhappy pet because it's the end of the relation, but we can make this look pretty cool. I couldn't find an example from banks. Guess what? They are not doing. So we have an opportunity here. But I have this amazing example from Spotify. So when you cancel your subscription with Spotify, of course, they say, okay, we are sad. You can come back anytime. But before you go, here is our farewell playlist for you. And they send you a playlist. The name is I Want You Back. And the first song is Can We Still Be Friends? So it's really amazing. And of course, if I launch another product or maybe in another time of this user's life, I can re-engage if I created this good relation in the offboarding, right? Thought number 4. Okay, if you're still lost, because I recognize that we put here a lot of information in a short time, if you're still lost and this webinar led you to an unhappy pet, don't worry, we can solve this. We have this amazing book that I was mentioning, Don Norman, The Design of Everyday Things. But just be aware that we are going to see unhappy pets everywhere, so be sure you want to read. We have more suggestions. I know you were asking in the Q&A about, okay, do you have more books? I will add here more books as well before sending you the presentation, okay, on how we can keep on this, understand these studies on unhappy pet. And what you can do right now, because I understand that after seeing this information and lots of possibilities, the first thing is, okay, where should I start? So now, if you have a product and service, don't forget, if you already have a product and service, you have data behind it, okay? So check the existing data, talk with customer support, check the feedback, check the online rates, the reviews that are putting, analyze this, try to spot the unhappy pets. And if you are creating a product or service, this is amazing because you have the opportunity to engage the teams and create this moment, this workshop, this meeting where we are going to face the unhappy pets. Bring it the discussion. No one is really talking about it, right? So collect this information.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.